Hi. Um, it is Wednesday, June 12th. Um, and I apologize for the delay in recording the first lesson of Zoom recordings. My daughter had a birthday, first of the month. So she flew in from New York to celebrate. So I am just a little bit behind. But it is summer, and I hope we're at a little bit more of a relaxed pace. And I do appreciate you watching the video. And I hope to add more to the discussion in the video than you simply downloading the lesson, because obviously there's more to what I do in my program and what I do in each class session than just following a guide. So we start summer a little bit, kicking off short stories a little bit earlier. Usually I start in August, but I find when I go over fables and fairy tales specifically, there's a lot of basic information, and a great way to show how we make real life applications to stories. So fables are so short, but incredibly clever. They have been written, well, passed down, probably written thousands of years ago, passed down through oral tradition. So, if you think back in history, it's hard for us to imagine a world where there's no pen and paper. And those of you who are younger, you're probably thinking, I don't even use pencil or paper. I use everything on a laptop. Well, prior to that, there was no written record. So stories were told and retold from generation to generation, and that's how fables came to be. They are fictional tales modeled, though, on human flaws, real life experiences. And I think they're so clever because they use inanimate objects or people in place of humans, which I think is better because they are literally making fun of humans, our flaws, our humanness. So imagine stories that were written thousands of years ago resonating in 2024. How can that be? Because human nature doesn't really change. The same behaviors that we had 2,000 years ago, we have today. And we don't like to have our flaws, our weaknesses are pointed out to us. So fables do it in such a way that we don't take offense. It's not like someone's preaching to us. It's like someone's doing it in a humorous way where we go, oh yeah, I do that too. So they reflect human behaviors in a way where the message is easier to hear. A plot of a fable is simple conflict resolution followed by a maxim, in this case, a moral message. A short statement expressing a general truth or rule of conduct. Many short stories or fables like them can be found in Buddhist or Hindu cultures, many different religious cultures. In Christian cultures, parables. There are four central characteristics of a fable, and the first one is symbolism. I think it's really cool. Fables use characters to represent humans. They are symbolic of what we do. Their misadventures symbolize our human flaws. And anthropomorphization or anthropomorphism, it's a fancy word for personification. Animals and inanimate objects are given human qualities, right? The animals talk. The ferocious wind purposely blows and kind of represents like dark side. Some animals, though, have specific traits associated with them. So that's what makes them so clever. For example, a fox. Foxes are known for being quite clever, quite mischievous, really a smart animal. So an owl is wise, a fox is cunning, a lion, courageous or brave, or, as we're going to talk about today, ferocious. And then a maxim, the moral lesson, at the end. And I have to be honest with you, sometimes I don't think the maxim applies today. I think it needs a little bit of a modification. But they give advice on words to live by. This is what you should do. I love the humor in fables. There's always a humorous tone showing the foolishness of humans. So Aesop, however you want to say it, is a famous Greek storyteller given credit. Did he write them? Doubtful. Doubtful. What he probably did was collect and gather them. So let's give him credit for that. He made sure that they were gathered and retold. So he probably didn't write the fables himself, but he's getting given credit for the collection of them. So I chose today 3 stories about lions. And I intentionally chose 3 fables about lions because there's something that the lion, a characteristic that the lion has that we do. A lion is considered really the king of the jungle, top of the food chain. When an animal's at the top of the food chain, they are an apex predator. An apex predator likes to be on top. They will fight to keep their spot. They are fierce, strong, and cunning, and they will stop at nothing to win. The lion symbolizes us humans who like to stand out, who appear to be superior to others, who have a need to be seen, to be heard. So a great example of an apex predator in our world are world leaders. You think about your Vladimir Putins, your Kim Jong-un, China, Japan. How about America? We've got former President Trump. We've got President Biden. You're not in a position as commander-in-chief or, prime minister unless you like power, unless you like to be seen and heard, right? And you believe you're the top. It could also be an athlete. An athlete can be an apex predator, right? An artist, a wealthy businessman. These are your Jeff Bezos. These are your Elon Musk. They don't like to lose. Apex predator. So the male lion is literally the leader of the pride, right? He likes it. Think about the Lion King. Mufasa and Scar had this, conflict. But in the context of the fables today, the lion is portrayed as prideful. And if you know anything about the 7 deadly sins, if you know anything about literary devices, pride is responsible for the downfall of man. The opposite of pride is humility. So when you think of someone who's prideful, they are conceited, arrogant, overconfident, selfish, superior, pompous, and boastful. So in each of these 3 stories that we're about to read, and I like the third story, the lion kind of gets what's coming to him. The lion is not attractive, but the lion, let me be clear, symbolizes us. We can be like the lion. We don't like to share, which is going to be in the first story, the lion's share. And in the second story, he is resourceful and clever. Yeah. And then the third story, you kind of see what happens to him. All right, so let's have a little fun. Our first story is the lion's share. And by the way, this is a famous phrase. Someone who has the lion's share takes it all for themselves, right? If you had a birthday cake, if you wanted the lion's share, you would share nothing with your family and friends. Okay, that doesn't sound like a very nice quality, does it? Okay, so the lion's share. A long time ago, the lion, the fox, the jackal, and the wolf agreed to go hunting together, sharing with each other whatever they found. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen so we can do that together. I think y'all might like that rather than just watching me. You can pop that up. Should have done that sooner. Just occurred to me. Maybe y'all like it this way instead. And by the way, if you have not done lesson 2, we're going to do the same exact thing next week, but we're going to do it with cats. Okay, a long time ago, the lion, the fox, the jackal, and the wolf agreed to go hunting together with each other, sharing with each other whatever they found. One day, the wolf ran down a stag and immediately called his comrades to divide the spoil. Without being asked, the lion placed himself at the head of the feast to do the carving, and with a great show of fairness, began to count the guests. 1, he said, counting on his claws, that is myself, the lion. 2, that's the wolf. 3 is the jackal, and the fox makes 4. Then he very carefully divided the stag into 4 equal parts. I am King Lion, he said when he had finished, so of course I get the first part. This next part falls to me because I'm the strongest, and this is mine because I'm the bravest. He now began to glare at the others very savagely. If any of you have any claim to the part that's left, he growled, stretching his claws meaningly, now's the time to speak up. Maxim, might makes right. Okay, so let me point out a couple things in this story. The lion, the fox, the jackal, and the wolf would never agree to go hunting together. The lion is the apex predator. He would eat all 3 of them. Okay, so that's kind of silly. Okay, the wolf killed the stag, right? So the lion is sitting, makes himself the apex predator. I'm going to sit at the head of the table and do the carving, and he did none of the work. Ouch. And I know you all understand that when you're in a group project and your friends or your peers, you're working hard and someone's on YouTube watching videos and you're like, we need you to do your part. And then they take credit, right? Which is kind of what he's doing here. He's taking credit and he didn't do any of the work. So yeah, he's dividing it up. And then at the very end, and a lot of students, some of them missed this, he didn't share the 4th part. He challenged them. If any one of you wants the 4th part, no one's going to disagree with an apex predator. Might makes right. So I'm just going to tell you, I kind of think the maxim is more the stronger often rule over the weak. Okay. So we have the symbolism, we have the humor, we have the maxim, and of course the anthropomorphic quality is this male lion represents us. And he is prideful, just like us. That's that human quality he has. All right, so let's go to the second story, The Old Lion and the Fox. An old lion whose teeth and claws were so worn it was not so easy for him to get food as in his younger days, pretended that he was sick. He took care to let all his neighbors know about it, and then lay down in his cave to wait for visitors. And when they came to offer him their sympathy, he ate them up one by one. The fox came too, but he was very cautious about it. Standing at a safe distance from the cave, he inquired politely after the lion's health. The lion replied that he was very ill indeed and asked the fox to step in for a moment. But Master Fox very wisely stayed outside, thanking the lion very kindly for the invitation. I should be glad to do as you ask, he added, but I have noticed there are many footprints leading into your cave and none coming out. Pray tell me, how do your visitors find their way out again? Maxim, take warning from the misfortunes of others. Okay, so this story, woo! And I told my students in my class when we did this last week, he used sympathy, right, to kind of lure other animals in. That's a genius strategy. Kids do that too. You know, you play your mom and dad. Oh, I don't feel good. I don't want to go to class today, right? Yeah, so and so has something, and the whole team has it, but I don't, right? So it was genius. Think about GoFundMe. That's exactly what they use on the internet. So and so has cancer, so and so there's a death in the family, there's been a hurricane, we need to raise funds for this family. And it kind of lures people in with a sympathy story. The fox is not fooled. So I love that. Here we have a fox who represents us too. And I think kids are pretty smart about being scammed, right? So I kind of think this story, it means, this is my interpretation of the maxim, watch out for traps. Watch out for signs of scams, which the fox was not fooled. Okay, our third story, which I think is fun, is called The Lion and the Gnat. Away with you, vile insect, said a lion angrily to a gnat that was buzzing around his head. But the gnat was not in the least disturbed. Do you think, he said spitefully to the lion, that I'm afraid of you because they call you king? The next instant, he flew at the lion and stung him sharply on the nose. Mad with rage, the lion struck fiercely at the gnat, but only succeeded in tearing himself with his claws. Again and again, the gnat stung the lion, who now was roaring terribly. At last, worn out with rage and covered with wounds that his own teeth and claws had made, the lion gave up the fight. The gnat buzzed away to tell the whole world about his victory, but instead, he flew straight into a spider's web. And there, he who had defeated the king of beasts came to a miserable end, the prey of a little spider. Maxim, the least of our enemies is the most often to be feared. Okay, there's a lot of symbolism in this. First and foremost, love the fact that this tiny gnat bests the apex predator, right? Okay, but let's be real. This is kind of silly. Once the lion, it's kind of like whenever you have a bug on your face, you go, you're not going to keep hitting yourself. So that part was a little silly that the lion just kept self-inflicting himself with wounds. But it was fun, right? That made it fun. And then the really cool ending here, the lion just is defeated and the gnat's prideful and really caught up in his boasting, misses the spider web. They both perished. Oh, well, the lion didn't perish, but the gnat, both of them kind of came to a very fitting end. I think the maxim here really is even the strongest can be defeated. And in this case, the cleverest was too. Anyone can be defeated. But it was funny to see the apex predator, the lion, masterfully outwitted by a tiny, insignificant gnat. Humans, here's the message here, who seem to be invincible, which if you want to know where I'm reading, it's right here, or untouchable, can be defeated by the smallest of foes. And what, brought my attention, and this was right after the verdict of former President Donald Trump, and today it's right after the verdict of Biden's son. Both Trump and Biden were convicted. They have felony offenses. A jury of their peers, normal, everyday people, found them guilty of a crime, which means no one is invincible or untouchable, even presidential, sons or former presidents. And by the way, that's the first time in human history that a former president, was convicted of a felony, and a president's son. So interesting. So it's interesting that these 3,000-year-old fables, here we go, 2,400-year-old fables. We don't know how far they go back. Okay, so if you are doing the lead, obviously something you can do here in the lead is just talk about what fables are, where do they come from, and maybe the 4 characteristics, what makes them unique. Our thesis, what we're going to prove today, are several fables with the central main character of a lion introduce the prideful character traits humans also display in real life, but in a way children can relate to and connect with their own behaviors. So here's the application. The message from the lion's share was intended to relate to how children are often selfish, refusing to share because they want all the rewards or glory for themselves. So notice the word share. Number one mistake kids are going to make is use the word share, 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 share. So I really was careful not to do that. One way a child might be arrogant like the lion is when they show off. Okay, so again, we're doing prideful. A second way a child is similar to the lion is they take all the credit for, I don't know who put the parentheses in there. I did not. I think somebody changed my document. Credit for something. So take all the credit. When they only played a small part, or they did none of the work. A third way children seek out attention, believing it is their due when they brag about their success. Okay, so what do I want you to do here? Okay, I want you to give examples of what you see kids do. No, this is not narrative. This is not first person. This is third person. So the lion in this fable reflected human characteristics. Children today can be prideful in their actions. So let's go to the example here, and I'll tell you what I mean here. One way a child might be arrogant like the lion is when they show off. So here is the example. Children today draw attention to themselves bragging about a new purchase, say the latest iPhone. And notice it's one topic, right? Kids show off a lot of things. They'll show off new expensive tennis shoes. They'll show off an award they got. Pick one topic. So I'm going to elaborate. When a popular student is given the iPhone 15 Pro Max, sorry, that's a typo, and brings it to school, they intentionally flaunt it so they can look superior. I'm pretty sure you've seen kids do that, everyone. A second way a child acts similar to the line is if they take all the credit for a school project, even with 5 other students in their group. A group of 6 students decided to write a rap song for their English project, which gained the praise of their teacher and classmates. One of the members took credit for coming up with the entire idea, making it seem as if he was the most important person in the group. I hate to burst your bubble, ladies and gentlemen. Adults do this at work. Yeah, it's not just kids doing it in group projects at school or kids doing it on a sports team. It happens in sports as well. I've seen this in the workplace. They will steal your idea when they had nothing to do with it. It's not attractive. It's a prideful characteristic. And as we can all agree, it's a deplorable character quality. A third way children seek out attention, believing this is their due when they brag about their success. Now, this could be, oh my gosh, grades. Hello, I got 105. What'd you get? And you know full well you got the top grade in the class. That's really, so I gave you an example here that's nothing like that. The student who was elected student council president boasted about defeating her opponent by a landslide instead of graciously accepting her nomination. She kept talking about how successfully she ran her campaign and no one could have run against her. Yeah, you want to tell like a little vignette, a little example story that shows bragging, that shows taking all the credit, that shows showing off. And really what I meant here, share the glory, basically what that means. So share, okay, well, that kind of, okay, that wasn't clear, but anyway, these were pretty good. So the essays that have come in have been really, really good. The only ones that have been really, really weak are the ones who didn't tell the story here. Tell a story here. One topic, and it has to be relatable and it has to be believable. Okay, so the second one we're going to do is the old fox and the lion. The old fox and the lion, the fable was to explain how there are predators in the world looking to trap children, but children can be like the fox, can outsmart them when they know what to look for. So I really wanted students to give themselves credit. You know more than you think you do. So one way children are aware of predators is with technology and the internet. And my students had no problem telling me they recognize when something's not right. And I got some really good examples. So you're going to give an example here where kids might recognize a trap. And obviously pop-up ads, but I think a student gave a really good example. He was playing a video game and they said, here, play this free game. This is going to be the next, like the next version. Play this free game. And then the free game asked for personal information. And he's like, whoa, 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 whoa. That's a trap. And I was like, good for you for noticing that. A second way a child might observe a scam is when they look for product reviews for an item they want to purchase. And ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know this, Google will pay $20 for you to write a positive review. I know I shop at a really fun store called Anthropology, and they'll say, well, if you give us a good product review, we'll put you in a drawing for $1,000 gift card, and you don't win it. They just want you to write a good product review. So I'm really wary of product reviews on Amazon. I don't often trust them. If they're all really, really good, right? That's kind of a red flag. Unless you know the product or the company. A third way children recognize danger is when they allow friends to talk them into doing something they know not to do. Okay, so for example, the obvious easy one is cheating. And they're going to give you a sympathy story, just like that lion did, right? I was so tired. I didn't sleep well. I'm not feeling good. And I didn't have time to do my makeup and my review questions. Can I copy your review questions? Right? Or, oh, you're shopping in a store and your friends are, shoplifting, putting earrings in their pocket. Well, we can't afford them. Our mom will never buy them for us. So we're just going to shoplift, right? You know not to do that, right? But sometimes your friends can talk you into doing things, right? The lion in this fable serves as a warning for children to look closely so they can avoid being deceived by someone in a position of power. So look at the two lessons in each of the stories that you get to respond to. Again, they are example situations. I won't read these. I'm going to assume that you can come up with your own. And I'm going to guess that yours are probably more fun than mine. I will tell you this. The essays I've really enjoyed reading are the ones that really had fun with it. Like, this is the scam. And we're elaborate with details. I don't want one sentence. I want 3 sentences. I want an example. So, as shown in the fables featuring lions, children can learn from the moral messages and apply them to real life situations. 2 of the 3 fables show the dominant lion to be a master of manipulation. In the lion's share, the superiority of the lion caused him to refuse to share. Even though the lion entered into an agreement with the wolf, the fox, and the jackal, he made it clear he was the only one who enjoyed the stag meal. And that's what an apex predator does. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, there are apex predators in real life. You might know one. Similarly, an older lion in the fable, The Lion and the Fox, finds a way to manipulate his neighbors into helping him by pretending he's sick to gain sympathy. This was a warning to look out for those who would stop at nothing to scheme. There are people who do this in the real world. You may have done it yourself. Your mom and dad may have done it. Full disclosure, I've done it. It's a manipulative tool. The bottom line here is what I'm trying to share with you is we are just like this. And that's why fables are so fun. They point out, we do this. So let me be clear, the stories are about us, right? They're symbolic of us. So the last story, The Lion and the Gnat, a tiny gnat bests the lion by buzzing around it and stinging it over and over again, with the lion clawing and scratching himself, causing self-inflicted wounds. This was a final lesson for children to realize, although they're smaller, and you are smaller, you can outwit or escape a dangerous situation by paying close attention. So it just brings to mind the lessons we can learn from these silly, fun stories that really do depict us. Okay, so this concludes week 1. And those of you who are watching and haven't done the lesson, I'm going to give you a heads up since I've graded several essays so far. They've either been really good or incomplete. One sentence as an example is not going to cut it. And my example essay, my example on the back was not a 1 sentence. So you'll notice in between these bold 1 example, third example, make sure they're equally weighted. Make sure they're developed. The first body is as equally strong as the second body. Make sure they're consistent. And if you are a new student, do 1 body paragraph only. And I'm going to let you choose. You can do body 1 or body 2, whichever one you feel like you can give better examples. The more details, the more precise you are, and the more fun you have, the more fun I have. Okay, this concludes lesson 1. Appreciate you watching. Please submit your essay as soon as possible. And if you are a new student, you will receive edits from me until we get you up to speed. And just be open to making mistakes. And you're probably going to, but I'm going to repeat it, lesson 2 a different way. So if you make a mistake with lesson 1, you'll figure out how to do it with lesson 2. All right. Have a great summer. And I'll see you when I see you.